He said, refill the earth.
Yeah.
Now watch this. Let's bring this a little closer to us. The scripture says, something I was just working on in my office, actually. The scripture says, be renewed in the spirit of your mind. What do we say re means? Back again.
Back again.
So when he says be renewed in the spirit of your mind, what does that really imply? It's talking about the original mind of Adam. Adam. Somebody say, I am Adam.
I am Adam.
Yeah, I'm Adam. I'm Adam. I'm the one that, I'm the creation that God said when he said to the Godhead, to God the Son and God the Holy Spirit, let us make them. Them. Say, I'm one of them.
I'm one of them.
He said, let us make them in our own image. There were a few things about that image and that likeness that was Adam. Number one, spirit. Right?
Yes.
Number two, intellect. Right? Number three, the center of that intellect was what? Will. Right? And that mind also had emotions. Right?
Yes.
Also had desires. But at the center of this mind is the will. But watch this. The other thing that is representative or characteristic of God's image, which, by the way, when we look that word up, that's D2. We're going to get to that in a second. The thing that's representative of his image is not just spirit and not just mind, but holiness. Because God is what? And doesn't he say it in the Old and the New Testament? Be ye what? Holy, even as I am holy. So what was he really talking about? He was talking about return. And so when he says renew your mind, what is he saying? Come back to the mind that I made you with. Come back to the mind that, watch this, that come back to being the holy, watch this now, the holy superior thinker. The holy superior thinker that I made you to be. You're a holy superior thinker. Return to it. Return. Reverse the curse and return to the holy superior thinker that I made you to be. Can you imagine a holy superior thinker? Only a holy superior thinker could name all the animals. In every species, it's just, just because your mind is just that brilliant. I mean, just think about that. We awe at people who we call have high IQs. They got whatever 170, or they got 200. They're high IQ. But God said Adam was a holy superior thinker. Everyone. Going back to what you said, be fruitful and multiply. God's original plan was that every one of Adam would be a holy, superior thinker. Every one of us. Every one of us. No lowly thoughts, no backbiting, no coveting, no gossip. Gossip, that's a low thinker. Gossip?
Yes.
Waste your time talking about somebody? That's low thinking. Superior thinkers. What is that old saying about, what is that saying? Small minds discuss, what is it? Small minds discuss what happened. Medium minds discuss why it happened. And great minds discuss what should happen. Something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
In other words, small minds be like, who shot John? What did they do? Why did they do? But the superior mind is always thinking about, what should we do? Not always what happened and who did.
Right.
Hey, that's history. But what, like people who invent things. People who invent things are superior thinkers. You know why? Because they're spending time just looking at the number one thing that causes anybody to invent anything is the perception of a what?
A problem.
Of a need.
Yeah.
You just got it. The perception of a need. And then they say, hey, you know what? Like the person that invented Post-its. As simple as that is. The person's a multi-millionaire now. They said, oh, you know what? I'm tired of writing these little notes here. I wish I had had something, because they probably would take a piece of tape, and they were taking them up on their little desk and stuff. And they said, man, if I just had something, ding, same thing. It's a piece of paper. It just needs some stickum on the back side. How easy was that? Cut it in any size you want to. Just figure out how to put the little sticky stuff on the back of it and let it pull off of one after another. You suddenly, I don't think the person said, how can I be a millionaire? What they were thinking was, how can we fill a void? See, it's again, fill a void. That word again. We want to fill a void. Even the scientists speak about this. Nature abhors a what? A vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. You see a void, you fill it. You see, it's like what's going on right now in Carson. I was reading about what's going on. They didn't get the stadium, whatever, but now they're looking at some other things, major. Now that they did get the stadium, which I'm glad they did, to be honest with you, because guess what? The people in Inglewood, they're all talking to me now. They're screaming that all their rents are going up and everything. And it's going to be a whole lot of traffic and a whole lot. See, so everything. But back to my point about nature pours a vacuum. They got all those acres there in Carson. Don't you think for 1 minute that's going to stay unfilled? That's the biggest amount of acreage in LA County that's undeveloped. It's prime real estate. Now that they know that they're not going to be building a football stadium there, it looks like, all these major shopping out vendors and outlets and all of this stuff are talking to the city saying, hey, now, because something happened. Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good. Something happened. What happened was, in the process of them trying to build the stadium for the Raiders and the Chargers, they made a deal where the city did not own the land, apparently, because I just got an email sent to me. They keep me up on all this stuff. But the point is, apparently the city didn't own the land. But in the process of them trying to get this stadium built, they were able to offer a deal where the Raiders and the Chargers would have the rights to the land subject to the end of April, and if they didn't use it by that time, then the land would revert or return to the city. And now, if they don't do anything by the end of April, finally the city that did not have the land will have the land and can start doing something with the land. Okay? So basically, nature abhors a vacuum. If you see something that's empty, it's like, hey, why don't we do something with that? Hey, there's fruit to be made. There's money to be made. There's things to be built. Let's do something. Amen?
Amen.
And the same thing with us. Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. Listen, we have to think the same way about them seats in there. Hey, there's seats to be filled. Who can I bring to church on Sunday? Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. What did that scripture say about the evil spirits? The evil spirit, the man who had an evil spirit, he got exercised of that evil spirit. Then it said the evil spirits went all throughout the airwaves. They went all around trying to find another vessel to house in. And the one who was exercised of the evil spirit, if he didn't now get himself right with the Lord, he would leave himself open again, and they'd come back, but this time they come back with 2 or 3 relatives, come back with mama and them, and now it'd be like 7 demons to get in. Because what? Nature abhors a vacuum. The spirits are looking for a place to house. And if you ain't, that's a good reason for you to get born again and filled with the Spirit. Because if you're not filled, we get on to that's good about this feeling. If you're not filled, if you don't fill your mind with something good, it's going to get filled with something bad. If you don't fill your mind with light, it's going to get filled with darkness. You can't just be like, well, I'm in neutral. No, you got to take that. What did Joshua say? As for me and my house, we don't serve the Lord. He said, I'm telling y'all right now, I need to just, this is, if we didn't specify that this was a house of prayer and a house of the Lord, then somebody else would come in and take it and do something with it. Might not be as holy, right? Same thing with this house. Okay, so where were we? I said that we were looking at this. Now, this is a very Spirit-led Bible study, right?
Yes.
This is how Pastor studies the Bible, when I'm just flowing in the Spirit. Did I tell you guys I was going to look at, what did I tell you I was going to look at? We said we're going to go back to Genesis 1. Look at this, so I can verify what I said. Genesis 1:26. Remember when I said that God said, let us make man. This is interesting. Let us make man how? In our image and in our likeness. Okay, let's look at that. We're having a good time studying the Bible, right? Yes. Let us make man. Somebody say Adam.
Adam.
In our image. All right, let me look at what that says. Image looks like the word. I think the T is probably silent, or maybe the S is silent. Tesla? Maybe it's Tesla. Tesla. T-S-E-H-L-E-M. No, it's probably Selem, because T and S in Hebrew, like Jehovah, Sidkenu, is T-S, Sidkenu, and they just say yes. So it's probably Selem. Selem. Say that with me, say Selem. All right, he says, let us make man in our own image. Say it again, say Selem. From an unused root meaning to shade. To shade. You know what that means? Like shade, like a shadow. Like a shadow. It means a phantom. That is figuratively an illusion or a resemblance. A resemblance. You know, your shadow is not you, right? But it is a resemblance of you. It's a shape of you, isn't it? It resembles you, it doesn't. Look at my shadow here. You see that? You see that hand? That shadow? That looks like my hand. But it's not my hand, but it's like a mirror image of it. That's what it's saying. Image. It means the Hebrew literally means a shadow or a shade of it, an illusion of it, something that looks like it, resemblance, hence a representative figure. When God said, I'm going to make man in my own image, he was saying, I'm going to make him to represent who I am and how I am. Now, this is interesting because we talked about the fact that God is a spirit. We talked about the fact that God has a mind, soul, a mind, and the mind has intellect, emotions, desires, and at the center a will. We talked about the fact that God's nature is love and holy, right? So all these things, we were supposed to be a representative of God in that, a representative figure of God in that. There's one other thing that's kind of interesting if you think about it that we haven't mentioned, and that is we're housed in a body. Ooh, by the way, that goes back to what we just said about nature abhors a vacuum. God made Adam from the dust of the earth. But he was then hollow. There was nothing filling it. No spirit in it. So then he did what? He blew the breath of life into it. So that now it would be filled with his spirit. Filled with life. All right, now watch this. He says, a representative figure, in other words, an image, a show, a vain show. That's what the way it explains. Now here's my point. We said God made us a spirit, God made us a soul, but watch this. He also made us a body. Now isn't it interesting how we speak of God, the hand of God? Isn't that interesting? God's a spirit, but do we... Where is Jesus? Where is Jesus right now?
At the right hand.
Oh, at the what?
Right hand of God.
So God, this spirit, has, at least in our conceptual understanding, a head, eyes. Does the Bible say the eyes of the Lord search to and fro throughout the whole earth to see a man whose heart is perfect toward him?
Yes.
Does the Bible say that the earth is the Lord's what? Footstool. So it's like God has a head and God has feet. God has hands and God has eyes. His arm is not short and his ear is not deaf. Is that something? So when we were made, we were not only made in the image and likeness of God. We were not only made in the resemblance, say selim. We were not only made in the selim of God, the resemblance of God in spirit. We were not only made in the resemblance of selim of God in intellect. We were not only made in the selim of God in character, holiness, and loving. We were made in the selim of God in form, having a head and having arms and having legs and having ears and eyes and things like that. In that sense, which speaks to the fact that angels, notice also, who are God's creation and who are spirits, they have heads, they have feet, they have, you understand what I'm saying? They have eyes. I mean, even when you look at Luke 17 and it talks about the rich man and the departed spirit, it says get Lazarus and let him take his finger and dip his finger in the cool water and touch my tongue. These are all features of body.
Right.
He looked and he saw. He woke up in hell and he looked up and he saw over the gulf. These saw eyes. And he said mouth. Do you see? Now, the key point is God is saying to us, I'm telling you, this is the key. God is saying to us, return to Adam. Return to how I made you. Return to how I created you. Return to Selim. Return to my image. Return to the Selim that I made you in before sin, before the knowledge of evil corrupted who you are. Do you know?
Enoch did that because that's why.
He must have. He did. He did. You cannot, listen, you cannot walk with God for 300 years and not reflect his likeness and his image. Because, how do we know that? Because we know that sin separates you from God. So God couldn't have been hanging with Enoch if Enoch had been in sin. He couldn't walk with him. He was walking with him like he walked with Adam. There was something about this man that he had set him. He resembled the heart of God, the love of God, the holiness of God. His mind. I think, in my opinion, what was happening with Enoch is not that he was perfect, born perfectly, but I think, well, first of all, there's a couple of things about Enoch you got to understand. So I think about Enoch quite a little bit. Wait, a couple things about Enoch you got to understand. First of all, the Bible says that where there's no law, there's no sin. Does it say that?
Yes.
Now, the law, as we know the law, when we say the law, for example, Jesus said, on this hang all the law and the prophets. What did he mean when he said all the law and the prophets? What did he mean when he said that? He meant the Mosaic Law, right? So, watch this. When we look at the Old Testament, we think of the whole Old Testament as the law, but really the whole Old Testament, all of the Old Testament was not the law. The law really came through who? Moses. So then what was before the law? That's what they call the age of the patriarchs. That's where Enoch lived. That's why it was different. See, the Jews tell me that there are 613 laws that were given. through Moses. Not just the Big Ten. 613. So once the laws were given, these are ritualistic laws. Now you have to, you know, just, yeah, you got so many. You got to do this, don't touch a dead person. Don't, you know, you can't be with somebody who's not a Jew. You know, and then all these laws relative to how you give these sacrifices. They were just a lot of stuff. You got to sprinkle the blood here, and you can't get this on, you can't do this, can't do all these laws. But Enoch didn't live under that. He didn't live under that dispensation. It's like Adam. Adam didn't live under that dispensation. There was only one law to Adam. Don't eat, don't partake of that fruit and take in evil. Don't disobey that one law and take in evil. So then now, every man was born with a sin nature, but there weren't any Mosaic laws. What there was God, and God apparently, we do know that God chose men during the time of the patriarchs, right? What's a good example of that? What's a good example of a patriarch that God chose and he struck up a relationship with? Excellent. Abraham. God chose him. God said, hey, I want to strike up a relationship with you. What's another example of a patriarch? A patriarch that, do you remember Pastor said about grace, that I said that grace is found 39 times in the Old Testament? And every time, just about every time it's found, it always says, and so found grace or favor in the sight of the Lord. Who was that person that big, this is a really big one, that God said, and so found favor in the sight of the Lord, and God said to him, I'm not going to destroy you like I have everybody else. Who was that? Noah.
And I always wondered, I said, what about Noah?
This is some interesting stuff, because there was no law, but there was a conscience. Because man always had a conscience. All right? There was no law, but there was a conscience. And I think, because God is God, and you know, there's a scripture that says, where God says, I'll have mercy on whom I'll have mercy on. In other words, Esau, he said, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated. Now he didn't hate Esau, it meant I loved Jacob more, Israel more. I just chose him. Two twins, but I chose him. So something about, he said Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. And so then what did God do? He begins to talk with him more. He begins to, now this is funny to me. This is really funny, because here we go all through these centuries so that Jesus could come, so that everybody could talk with God, because everybody couldn't talk with God. So don't think for one moment that just when Jesus came in the New Testament, man was able to talk with God. It's just that every man was not. But God chose some men too. Abraham talked with God. Noah talked with God. Can I get an amen?